Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Michael Boyd. I'm here with Read, Remember, Repeat. And we just want to let you guys know, we could be doing something selfish, things for ourselves, right? But we started a charity, and this is very unselfish on our part, because what we want to do is give back to the kids, the youth, the orphanage, the homeless, the people that don't have those new ideas because they're stuck in a revolving door. So what we want you guys to do is definitely reach out to us. This is the link right here. Help us save a lot.
Collecting my money, be up in his own motivation to win it. Opponents killing, one mission succeed. No lie that I'm on the bottom of the streets. It's smoking and niche. Some youngers at beast, they killing the beast. Hard to compete, better not sleep. It comes to your piece, then I repeat. Blowing the money I'm getting from winning. Hating me now, you see me, you get it. Talking so cheap, wonder why I don't listen.
Gang, we remember repeaters. It's your boy. We are here with the Go Giver, a little story about a powerful business idea, right? By BURG and John David Mann. This book right here is a goodie. And I want y'all to tune in and tap in, right? We are definitely on chapter 2. That's page 7. This is called The Secret, right? I love this book. Let's go. The next morning, Joe arrived at the address Brenda had given him and pulled up into the huge circular drive. He couldn't help being impressed as he parked and looked up at the beautiful stone mansion that stretched up a good 4 stories in front of him. He gave a low whistle. This was someplace. The man had clout, all right. Joe had done his homework the night before. An hour on the internet had told him some pretty remarkable things about the person he was about to meet. Thank God for the internet, right? Just wanted to throw that in. Let's go. The man known as the chairman had had a very successful career with a wide range of enterprises. Now mostly retired from his own companies, he devoted most of his time to teaching and mentoring others. He was in great demand as a consultant to Fortune 500 CEOs and as a keynote speaker at top-shelf corporate events. He had become something of a legend. One article had dubbed him the business world's best kept secret. Talk about clout, thought Joe. Leverage. Big time. Joe, welcome. A slender man with neatly combed graying black hair, a pale blue shirt, light gray jacket, and pressed light gray slacks stood outside the great oak door. Early 60s, Joe guessed, maybe even late 50s. The man's age was one detail the internet search had not yielded. His precise net worth was another, but by all accounts, it was stratospheric. The castle that stood before Joe confirmed that impression, as did the man's stately, elegant presence. From his beaming expression, it was clear that his welcome was genuine and not just a figure of speech. "Good morning, sir," said Joe. "Thank you for taking the time to see me." "You're welcome, and thank you for exactly the same reason." Pender smiled broadly over his firm handshake. Joe returned a somewhat bewildered smile of his own and wondered, why is he thanking me? "Let's head over to the terrace for a hot cup of Rachel's famous coffee," said Joe's host as he ushered him onto a small slate path that led around the side of the mansion. "Surprised to be here." "Actually, yes," Joe admitted. "I'm just wondering how many business legends would open their homes to a perfect stranger on a Saturday morning." Pender nodded as they walked along the path. "Actually, successful people do this all the time. Typically, the more successful they are, the more willing they are to share their secrets with others." Joe nodded, trying his best to believe that this could possibly be true. Pender glanced at him, then smiled again. "Appearances can be deceiving, Joe. In fact, they nearly always are." They walked for a moment before Pender continued. "I was sharing a stage once with Larry King, the radio and television interviewer. Joe nodded. And since he interviewed so many famous, successful, and powerful people, I thought I'd check my own observation against his. Larry, I asked, are your guests as genuinely nice as they seem? Even the real superstars. He fixed me with a gaze and said, tell you what, the interesting thing is, the bigger they are, the nicer they are. Something about Pender's warm, raspy voice had put Joe curiously at ease from the first moment he heard it. Now he identified that something. It was a storyteller's voice. Pender continued, well, Larry thought for a moment about what he said, and then he said more. I believe that a person can reach a certain level of success without being particularly special. But to get really, really big, to reach the kind of stratospheric success, we're talking about people need to have something on the inside, something that's genuine. Pay attention to the details of the book, guys. As they arrived at the terrace table, Joe glanced around and just managed not to gasp out loud. Beyond the city stretching below them to the west lay a range of long, rolling mountains, half shrouded in cottony clouds. The view took Joe's breath away. They took their seats, and the young woman Pender had called Rachel appeared with a pot of her famous coffee. As she poured cups for both of them, Joe thought, Susan won't believe it when I tell her about this place. He had told his wife only that he was going to meet with a potential client. He smiled as he pictured the expression that would light up her face when she heard about his adventure. Family, this is sauce time. It's about to get real saucy. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to take out your notes, your books, and write this stuff down. You know what I mean? Because this book is strictly for your mental. This book and this show. Let's get it.
I picked up something in your story you were just saying, even when you came out with your company, at your level today, people were still saying it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, everything don't work. They say that
don't go
time.
nowhere. I think when you started in music, reading something, it was like a lot of the top music today can be traced back to you, your style of music. And even when you started with Aaliyah, a lot of things you're doing, people was like, oh, that's not going to work. What helped you then when people say it's not going to work and you prove them wrong? And even now at this level, people say it's not going to work and you still go out and do it. What would you say to somebody that has people around them telling them it don't work that's helped you?
Blocking out the noise. Keeping those blinders on. When you see horses race, they can't see the next horse beside them. You know why? They got them blinders on. So you got to block out the noise and keep going. Sometimes you use that comment, and it's not somebody's hating on you at all times. You need somebody to tell you that ain't gonna work.
And we are back, gang. Yes, we are back. Yes, we are back with the GIVER, right? A little story about a powerful business idea about Bob Burg and John David. Man, we are on a little bit in chapter 2. So we're going to finish off where we left off, right? Wow, said Joe. Larry King, huh? By the way, this coffee is spectacular. Is Rachel's coffee really famous? It is in this home, Pender said with a smile. I'm not a betting man, but if I were, you know what I bet? Joe shook his head. I bet that one day it will be famous worldwide. Rachel is very special. Been with us for about a year now, but I expect she'll be leaving us before long. I've been encouraging her to open a chain of coffee houses. Her coffee is too good not to share with the world. I can see what you mean. Joe leaned in and adopted his best confidential. Just us guys talking manner. If she could reproduce this on an industrial scale, you too could make a killing. He sat back in his chair and took another sip. Actually, Joe, in the brief time, Pender set up his cup down. Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry about that, guys. So if she could reproduce this on an industrial scale, you too could make a killing. He sat back in her chair and took another sip. Pender set his cup down and looked at Joe thoughtfully. Actually, Joe, In the brief time we have this morning, that's where I want to begin. You and I are coming from two different directions when it comes to wealth creation. If we're going to take this walk together, we need to start by facing the same direction. If you notice, what I said was share her coffee. What you said was make a killing. Do you see the difference? Joe wasn't sure if he did or not, but he cleared his throat and said, yes, I think so. Pender smiled. Please don't misunderstand me. There's nothing wrong with making money. Lots of it. In fact, it's just not a goal that will make you successful. Reading the bewilderment on Joe's face, he nodded and put his hand up to signal that he would explain. You want to understand success? Yes, Joe nodded. All right, I'm going to share my trade secret with you now. Pender leaned forward a bit and softly spoke one word. Giving. Joe waited for more, but apparently that was it. I beg your pardon? Pender smiled. Giving, repeated Joe. Pender nodded. That's the secret to your success? Your trade secret? Giving? Indeed, said Pender. Ah, said Joe. Well, that's that. That's too simple. Even if it were true, which it can't possibly be, asked Pender. Is that what you're thinking? Something like that. Joe admitted sheepishly. Pender nodded. Most people have the reaction. In fact, most people just laugh when they hear that the secret to success is giving. He paused. Then again, most people are nowhere near as successful as they wish they were. Joe certainly couldn't argue the point. You see, Pender continued, the majority of people operate with a mindset that says to the fireplace, first give me some heat, then I'll throw on some logs. Or that says to the bank, give me interest on my money, then I'll make a deposit. And of course, it just doesn't work that way. Joe frowned, trying to parse the logic of Pender's examples. You see, you can't go in two directions at once. Trying to be successful with making money as your goal is like trying to travel a superhighway at 70 miles an hour with your eyes glued to the rearview mirror. He took another thoughtful sip and waited for Joe to process this thought. Joe felt as if his brain were going 70 on the highway in reverse. Okay, he began slowly. So you're saying successful people keep their focus on what they're giving, sharing, whatever. He saw Pender nod, and that's what creates their success? Exactly, cried Pender. Now we're facing the same direction. But wouldn't an awful lot of people take advantage of you? Excellent question. Pender set his cup down and leaned forward. Most of us has grown up seeing the world as a place of limitation rather than as a place of inexhaustible treasures. A world of competition rather than one of co-creation. He saw that Joe was puzzled again. Dog eat dog, he explained, as in, oh sure, we all act polite on the surface, but let's face it, it's really every man for himself. That about sums it up. Joe admitted that it did about sum it up indeed. That's certainly what he believed anyway. Well, said Pender, it's simply not true. He noted Joe's skeptical look and continued. Have you ever heard people say you can't always get what you want? Joe grinned. You mean the Rolling Stones? Pender smiled. Actually, I imagine people were saying that well before Mick Jagger's time. But yes, that's the general idea. You're not going to tell me that's not true, are you? That we actually do get what we want? No, said Pender. That one is true. In life, you often don't get what you want. But he leaned forward again and his voice grew softer with emphasis. Here's what you do get. You get what you expect. Family, we're going to leave y'all right there, right? you get what you expect. And I want y'all to think about that, right? Because it's there. That's in bold, it's in parentheses. You get what you want. So I want y'all to leave. I want to leave y'all with that. I'm stunned right now. Forgive me. This book did it to me. But let's go. Read, remember, repeat. It's nighttime. I'm tired. Tomorrow's another day. Let's go. Let's get it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yes. We keep it jumping, we keep the party jumping. We out here getting money, we ain't worried about nothing. We keep it jumping, we keep the party jumping. We out here